It's Speaking with Gravity, and I am Curvin.
I'm D.
I'm Ty.
I'm Bria.
Joshua.
And we are hosting this podcast, Speaking with Gravity, that talks about mental health and how everything affects everything. With every episode, the goal is to have a conversation that will make you think, make you feel, make you do what is best for you. I'm a therapist. We're therapists. At least 3 of the 5 of us are therapists. But this isn't therapy. It's a podcast. So today we're going to get into it. We got a title, talking about sex. And, you know, everybody want to do it, but not everybody want to talk about it. But before we get into it, we're going to allow our guest to introduce herself because we got a special guest. We're going to allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're about.
Let's go.
You know, what you do.
So my name is Bria Jaslyn. I'm 25 years old. I am the owner of So Seductive LLC. It started off as just a lingerie line, but now it is a lingerie line as well as an adult novelty store. I started in November 2018, so about 4 years ago.
And how can you be found?
On social media at So Seductive by Bria on Instagram, So Seductive by Bria on Facebook. And then my personal page is Bria Jaslyn.
Okay, so y'all know how to find her. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go right into it. Twitter discussions, Josh.
Gotcha. Twitter discussions. You not about to what you doing. How's your day going? Send me a picture, me all day. So throw me a curveball. Like, if you could be any fruit, what would it be and why? Make me think a little bit. What's the best? I want to ask you guys, what's the best get to know you question that you've ever been asked? Let's ponder on that a little bit. This was brought to us by Brittany, Christian sexologist and intimacy coach. You can find her at on Instagram at The Intimacy Firm on Instagram.
So what's the best get to know you question you've ever been asked? Gosh, darn it. I don't think I ever been asked a get to know you question. Maybe I'm the one doing it as opposed to actually being asked. So what have I asked? What's the best get to know you question that you've ever asked? I've never asked a question like that. If you could be in a fruit, what would it be? That hasn't been me. That hasn't been my game. Well, I say it's a game. Maybe it's not a game, but I looked at it as a game. If I was coming, I felt like it was coming sideways to come like that. I can't. I'm not trying to clown somebody that did do it. I just didn't do it. I would ask pretty straight up a person about themselves. You know, what color you like. You know, something like that. Some real vague and simple like that is what I would do. I don't think I've ever come up with a crazy get to know you question or ever been asked one.
See, we're a little different because I like the out there. I like the out there, you know, stuff. The stuff that makes people think a little bit. I'm a little complex, so I'll hit you with something. Yeah, most definitely. I asked quite a few, because I wanted to be interesting, you know.
What have you asked?
Oh man, put me on the spot. I've asked crazy thing. I've asked, what's your favorite opening song from a TV show?
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that is crazy. I don't even. What would be the relevance? Like,
I don't know. Just to get someone talking and to make somebody laugh. You see how y'all just laugh?
Yeah.
So kind of like that. And I think humor kind of relaxes people, and I get to see more from them once I get them relaxed. You know what I mean? So it's a strategy there. You know?
Okay. So you say. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go with that. Have y'all, Bree, D, Ty, have y'all ever been asked something that was like, oh, okay?
So I'm the question asker usually.
Okay.
I'm very nosy.
Oh, wow.
I honestly start off with what's your sign? Like that might not be, but you know, that's how I start off usually.
Okay.
That's the
I
icebreaker.
have said that. I have asked what is your sign? And I do kind of not necessarily know all of them, but at least if I don't know it, I'll go and look it up. Yeah. And it'll give me a little bit of insight into that individual. What about Ty D? Have y'all been asked anything?
I've been asked questions, but
Anything that kind of like?
nothing that sticks out.
Oh, okay.
Kind of just a general. So tell me about yourself. What do you enjoy? What are your interests? What
Yeah.
are things that you don't enjoy? And kind of vice versa. But reading this Twitter discussion, it's got me pondering. To ask certain questions, like Josh mentioned. Yeah.
Thank you, Ty.
You're welcome. Cause
like Josh's question.
that was different, and it's thought provoking.
Yeah.
And it taps into different things. We may find, as I'm answering this question, we may enjoy the same TV segment, things like that.
And you really can find out a lot about a person, though.
About what they watch.
By
Yeah.
what they watch. And so I
Absolutely.
like that's a really good question.
Or how old they are.
Right?
Yeah.
Ain't perfect.
If I tell you I like the good times thing, then you know, oh Lord.
Don't try to take Josh
I'm-
line.
I don't need to
What
take it
sound
at
like.
this point. If I'm using it at this point, there's something wrong. But all right, so let's go to QD of the hour.
So QD of the hour, quotable data, another version of fun facts, information for you to be able to give your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, church members. Surveys estimate that men may think about sex 8 times a day on an average, as opposed to about 6 times for women. Men do appear more likely to think about certain kinds of sex, such as threesomes, far more often than women. This is by Miss Terry D. Fisher, Journal of Sex Research. Why you disagree, D?
I think women think about sex a lot more. We just
Yeah,
don't
don't
say
say
it. I just think men are more vocal, but women do think about sex a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said men are more vocal about it?
I mean, I think it's the notion and idea that y'all are expected to sexualize women, but women sexualize men a lot. I'm looking at the crease of his back and
Yeah.
The
the
veins.
veins. It is.
The crease of his back.
Yeah.
I have never. But we need to. That's why we need dialogue like this, y'all.
Definitely need
Yeah.
this.
The crease of his back. Have you heard that? Crease
Never,
of his back? girl?
no.
You never
I ain't even heard of it.
Not
Like,
the crease of the
I've
back.
never-
When a man works out and you could kind of look at the crease of his back.
Oh, the dip. Like,
Yeah, the dip.
okay.
crease of
the
his
dip.
back.
All right.
See, look, the dip. Okay, the dip. I'll call it the dip.
It's a
Okay.
new one for me, y'all.
Yeah, it's definitely a new one. Wow. Though they did say that in that journal, that study, that even though this is saying that men think about it a little bit more, that sometimes women may not be willing to share what their thoughts are when they was in the actual study and trying to gather this information. So it was really backing up with what you were saying, men being probably more vocal on it. All right, let's get into the introduction, the official introduction of the episode.
All right, so we think about sex, fantasize about sex, and preferably have sex, which begs the question, why is sexuality ignored in discussions on healthy well-being? Believe it or not, people felt a greater sense of well-being and a more profound sense of meaning in life the day after having sex. Surprisingly, it appears that having sex generally does provide a real boost to mood, outlook, and well-being. So, for a profound sense of meaning in life, have sex.
What?
Definitely
That
have
last
sex.
line.
It definitely increases the life in general, having sex. According to this, of course. So let's. Why do we not talk about it as? I like that question that was in the introduction. Why is sexuality ignored in discussion? Like, why we think that? Even, as we were getting together, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna say on this episode? Of course, I'm a married man, so like, how much do I divulge? How much do I share? And it's just, man, am I ready for this? But I should be ready. Like, I've been doing it for quite a while. Enjoy doing it. Why not have this conversation about this? And it's it's one of those things that I look forward to.
Most definitely.
It enhances my life in general. Okay. So why would not be? Why would I not be ready to have this conversation? Why y'all think we don't want to talk about it?
I think it's a taboo with it. So with me being in the sex toy business, I don't like talking about it. I'm uncomfortable sometimes talking about it. Honestly, don't nobody show this episode to my grandma, but they don't even know I own a sex toy business. Like they don't. They really think I still own I work a 9 to 5, because that's not something like I was always told. Not to shack up, and I'm not married, so it's just. I think now with it being on TV more, maybe it is coming around. Yeah. But it's definitely a hard conversation to have.
So how did you even get into that business?
Honestly, so when I was like 18, I used to love lingerie. Like I would go to
When
City
you were how
Trends,
old?
like 18.
Okay. You started early now.
So I had this boyfriend, and I used to like going to Pink and Victoria's Secret, City Trends, and getting like cute lace lingerie. And every time I would get it, my mama would throw it in the trash. Like I would wash it, and I'm getting my clothes out the dryer, and my panties gone. And I really just like lingerie. And once I got older, like now my mom accepts that I own the lingerie and sex toy business, but that was just. I always liked it.
So just
the
a
confidence
love
of wearing the lingerie,
Mm-hmm.
not even for
Confidence.
just someone else, for myself as
yourself.
well.
Yeah.
I did that.
All right.
I'm not gonna lie, cause I like, when I do wear lingerie, it does kind of add that extra self confidence boost. I don't even know if that's the right word to describe it, but it does feel good. You could just prance around in some lingerie.
I love it.
Yeah, it's still uncomfortable for me right now. You got all these thoughts running through your head, and
What?
because you can't really confine it, right? You really cannot confine it. You talking about lingerie, so now where is my imagination going to go? It's going to go to lingerie, but that's okay.
But and
That's
I think
okay.
it is okay because that's the topic at hand.
That's the what?
It's the topic at hand.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So the fact that your mind is going there, it creates the experience. Now, where your mind goes after that, it's a different thing.
Okay. So, how does sex bring us closer together? How does that work? And how does that work? I was having a conversation last week about that. Like, sometimes guys, depending on what stage they're at in life, after you're done, you're done. You're done. So it's like, how are we getting closer?
Are you saying done with that person?
No.
No, like not
done
looking
in that moment. Like, all right, well, that's a good question too. But for me, no, not done with the person altogether.
There is an intimacy after.
Right. I had to grow into where I'm at, but prior to where I'm at right now, I'm intimate with a person. Yeah, I want to be with that person, but once I release,
You roll over.
I'm good. I'm good for a few minutes. Roll over for a few minutes, gather myself together. Maybe.
Got you.
Yeah. So you know where we're going with this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All right, but if that's the case, then how can I actually be closer to a person? How can I actually be connected if, that's what I want to do at the end, is to just roll over.
So is that with someone who you really care about in the
Yeah.
past? Has it been with someone you really care about, or do you feel more inclined to, or do you feel as though you want to, have that intimacy after, or do a temperature check with your partner after, when it's a person that you care about?
Yeah. So it hadn't always been with somebody I care about.
Understood.
Yeah.
But when it's,
Yeah.
do you feel when it's someone that you care about, do you feel you're more likely to engage in that intimacy afterwards, not just roll over?
When it's somebody, I know I had to grow into that too.
Okay.
Even with somebody that I'm in a relationship with, right? I'm spending time with. I still have to grow into wanting to make that connection longer and more than just the act of and the release of.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know when that light bulb went off in my head. I'm thinking out loud right here now, so y'all really get
You good, you good, yeah.
But I don't know when that light bulb went off in my head that, okay, after this is, after I'm done, just to, kind of lay here and stay in the moment and really feel that person. I don't know when that light bulb went off. But when it did, it makes intimacy better. It makes sex better when you are connected to a person, when you truly love them, when you want to be around them beyond the actual act of sex or intimacy.
But I think that's the importance, though. You can have sex with anyone, but you can't have intimacy with everyone.
Let's go.
Like, I think that's the true honesty about sex. And I know people don't like to get into the biblical principles of it, but I do think it's important to be careful about the connections that we build with people.
Let's go.
And when you talk about, like, not being able to connect with people, I think that's why it's important that you don't have sex with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some people that we just genuinely don't have a connection with other than this moment. And, like, I think you can have sex with people and not even enjoy it. But it's so different when you actually like the person that you're sexually involved with. Like, that allows you to create the idea of intimacy. And I think intimacy is something that's more delicate than just having sex. Sex is fun to me, don't get me wrong. But intimacy for me is just like, that's a whole different level of sex, because we don't even have to have sex to have intimacy. And I think that's what I like about a person. And I think that's what you're talking about, is like when you transform from wanting to just have sex with people to wanting to build connections with people, because that's intentional.
And I think that's important. I'm going to even encourage people to, not going to say what you should do ever, but I'm going to even encourage people to, when you are having sex or considering having sex, think about, is this someone that I really like? Is this someone that I can really be intimate with? Otherwise, I mean, you think about something, when you were speaking, Kervin, I thought about something. You can, say, have these sexual encounters over your life or early on in your life, and they kind of set the tone for later on your sexual encounters. By the time you get to that partner who, is probably right for you, you've built up this thing about sex, you know what I'm saying, where you want to roll over. You want to roll over, you know what I'm saying? And that, and your partner can be craving that intimacy, but it's just something you built up, habit you built up so long. So you want to be careful. I would say I want to encourage people to be careful about who they are having sex with, if it's, if you don't feel as though, there's that, you don't really care for that person, be careful, man. Or if that person doesn't care for you, because sex is a spiritual thing, I really believe. So you got to be careful with that.
And it can, so with bringing partners closer together, if the sex is good, honestly, it can become toxic, because that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
You enjoy the sex, and you really should not be in a relationship or dealing with this person.
Yeah, and you said, would you say you can have sex and not enjoy it? I disagree with that. I think I've enjoyed it every single time.
Let's go then.
I think that's a men thing.
Yeah.
I think
It gotta
it might
be.
be a man thing, because I will be honest with you, there's been, without me being too, graphic, there's been times that
Yeah,
I've
because
had sex
Taisha
with
looking
people
at you
that
down there now.
I did not-
Wait, say what?
I said, she said without me being too graphic, I said, yeah, because Taisha looking at you down there now.
I
Girl,
but,
don't say too much.
Especially for me, I just can remember Grandma saying something to me one time. She was like, when you got good stuff, you can't share it with everybody. And
Come
I
through,
just
Greenie.
thought she meant like just your body, but I think it means even in terms of who you are as a being.
Right.
When you are a good person, you have to be careful who you share yourself with. And when you do have sex with people, whether you want to or not, that is you sharing yourself. Like, I'm giving you one of the most intimate parts of me, whether I realize it or not. And so, it gets, I think a lot of times, without me going too far off, I think we got introduced to sex through fantasy. And we got introduced to sex through this exoticness and this ripping clothes off and tearing clothes off. Like, because I remember sneaking and watching, porn when I was a little girl.
Cinemax.
And so, Cinemax, and the way in which they conducted themselves.
It's never been done like
It's
that.
never been
Right.
I was like, man, I ain't never experienced what she
I want to walk through the door. And,
yeah, like
We tried hard to reenact it, though, didn't we?
I did, you did, and you tried to recreate something that wasn't there, and then even behind the scenes, like these people at that time, they really wasn't even doing anything. It was all an act, and so for a long time early on, I was trying to mimic something that I didn't even know what I was doing, and so I think as a woman, I'd be like, this don't feel right. I don't like this, and I mean, let's be honest, everybody ain't a pleaser.
What you mean?
Everybody don't know how to please.
Oh, okay. They don't know how to, not that they know.
or they're pleasing themselves and not you.
There it is. That's why
Okay.
she's a sexologist.
Yeah.
She a what?
Sexologist. I done created a word. No, I did that.
Nah,
time,
you
did I?
didn't.
Okay, good.
All right. Yeah. What? And this really could go any type of way. I had a whole bunch of questions while you was talking, but going back to what you were saying about porn, soft porn, watching this stuff on TV, it gives you this idea of how long sex should last. Do you get those questions? Like, so how? Well, I don't know. Do you get those questions about how long should it last, or is this toy going to help me get to orgasm?
Yes, I do. And a lot of people ask for advice, but I honestly feel like it's different with every person. Sometimes you can enjoy sex for 30 minutes. Sometimes you may enjoy it for 5 minutes. It's just knowing your partner and knowing their body and what they like and what you like. Especially with the toys, adding those into the bedroom so that if you're not pleased with your sexual partner, saying, okay, let's try this instead.
All right. So can adding toys kind of take away from the natural act? And this is not just to Bria, but anybody. And I think coming up, that was one of my thoughts before I ever experimented with toys or anything. Like, okay, is this going to not necessarily take the place of me, but am I going to get to the point where I got to have toys just to be involved, just to be intimate, to get to that next level, get to whatever level I'm trying to get to? Do I have to have this toy now? Or am I going to have this toy? So, is that a thought process behind that, why people are, I guess, hesitant to do it?
I think so, but I also think changing it up and doing something different every now and then. I don't think it should be brought in every time, you and your partner are intimate. That is taken away from the act. Maybe y'all been doing the same thing for about 3 weeks now, and you want to throw something else in there to add a little spice so you guys are.
3 weeks in?
No, not like no, like
She's saying like they've been partners.
yeah, you've been partners and
3 weeks y'all
been doing the same
rolling
positions, and rolling over and not having that intimacy.
You just gonna keep talking about this rolling over.
Where that at?
Okay. All right. So after just kind of switching it up, sometimes putting it in, sometimes taking it out. Okay. I
And
got
different
you.
ones as well.
What you mean different ones?
Different toys.
You wanna?
Not really.
What are some of the favorite toys since we there? What are some of the favorite ones right now?
So the rose.
Besides the rose.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about
Everybody
that. I'm
know
so
about
tired of that rose. Hearing about it, I should say. I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. Me too. Not sell them, but different things that you can use with your partner. So just say anal plugs. People.
That was on my mind. Yeah.
I think they're just pretty. I don't think they really, do anything for you. But some people think that adds a little extra oomph in the bedroom. I just think it looks pretty. What other toys?
So rose.
They do
plug.
have now men toys that pretty much mimic.
Men make them.
No,
Oh, okay.
they're for men
Okay.
that
What-
mimic sexual acts. So the name of the toy on my website is
okay,
called the Guac Guac 3000.
I can
The
imagine.
who?
The one that's
Walk,
the wet
walk.
line
Yes.
okay.
The walk walk.
Guac Guac.
So your
Oh,
mouth.
guac guac.
So it's imitating heat.
Yeah.
Or
I thought y'all
oral
said a
play.
walk.
Yeah.
like
So
the
wait,
thing
what
you
is it?
cook.
A head?
So it's
A tongue?
Toy.
yeah, it's
Guac
Kind of like a
guac.
glass glass, right?
It's plastic.
Okay.
And it just
Got
kind of,
something in it.
yeah, it has like, I don't know how to explain it. Pretty much little, I don't know how to explain it.
It's like a liquid or something, right?
Yeah,
It makes it
and
feel like moisture and
and it just
okay.
turns around like it's a woman giving oral pleasure.
So
Oh.
I have to ask you, Bria, do you sell the vibrating panties?
Yes, I do.
Ooh.
Okay.
Now I love that. I love it.
Y'all, okay, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I'm not gonna ask.
And that's
y'all.
something you can do before.
I'm just thinking. I ain't never. First, I've never
Yeah,
heard of the
Taisha, 'cause you keep
vibration
laughing down there.
underwear, and I've never heard of the vibrating underwear.
You never heard of it?
No,
I've heard
Until
of it.
today?
until today.
Oh wow.
So I'm just trying to envision.
So it's like a little bullet. You know what the bullet
Yeah, I
vibrator
know
is?
the bullet.
So
goes in
it goes in, like there's a little slot in the panties and it slides in there. And
okay.
your partner has the remote and
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I've.
We would just remove the undies in it and just have the.
No, you
But
do
you're
it
doing like
in
in public, yeah.
So like you're walking around in public and you have them on, and he might be walking behind you.
See.
And he has a trigger. He has a
Yeah.
trigger. Y'all left that part out. Right? He
Yeah, he has a
trigger.
remote that
So is
It's like
that
TV.
for women? Is that the most important thing? Is to climax?
That would be fun.
Yeah, it definitely would be fun.
yeah.
Definitely would
I
be
think
fun.
it'll bring some intimacy outside of the bedroom. You know, then when you get home, you're hot and bothered and
Yeah.
ready.
Little Caesars. I didn't read it.
I think it's about
Let's go.
enjoyment of the friendship that
Yeah,
sex-
man.
I mean,
Yeah.
intimacy or having sex can create. Like really, when you really enjoy it, like listening. The most intimate thing to me is to be able to listen to somebody else's body and somebody to listen to mine.
Yeah.
Like
The
that-
heart beating and the
yes,
breathing.
the breathing,
The connectedness.
the connect exactly. Like I know, I can't. But you know when they're getting ready to release. You know them telling me to hold it. It's just those type of things. Okay, Kirby.
So you feel
I
like-
think I'm going too far.
No, I mean,
No, you really not. Which brings me to the question of, can you have conversations with like this without getting aroused? Like you, I'm not saying that you're aroused right now, but you want to go. Like you
I mean, cause I'm an open. You know, I'm kind of open book in a lot of ways, but I don't feel like I'm necessarily telling anything about myself. I'm not telling anything about my partner. I'm just really having a conversation, and I feel like that's the beauty of it. Like we really. Am I gonna sit here and tell you every single thing that I do in the bedroom? No.
Right.
But cannot we have general conversations about it? We can. It's not.
Things that can be added, like she said, to the bedroom or to add to the relationship if that fits you and your partner. If, you know, a person or a couple, they're seeking, you know, to spice up the level of intimacy in the bedroom and outside the bedroom, like the vibrating underwear. You know, I think that's dope. Yeah, my spouse and I were to go out and voila.
Yeah, it's dope, man.
So how do you have that direct line of communication with your partner? Like, because, and I'm gonna ask the question, but I'm gonna give you my answer, and I would like for y'all to add to it. But how do you have that direct communication with your partner about sex and what it looks like for you, what you enjoy? I'm 16 years in. I can't afford to be quiet because I'm here for life. And I would hope that she can't afford to be quiet either. But, you know, at different points in times of my life, if somebody say to me, "Hey, will you do this?" I might get offended. Like, well, I ain't there. Huh?
Give me an example.
Yeah, I need an example as
See,
well.
y'all gonna make me go into detail. But you know, if they say not position itself, but go this way as opposed to going it that way. I was like, oh, so you don't like it when I'm
But see,
doing,
you immediately
or-
jump to
Oh, okay.
defense.
Yeah,
You know, they may not
Yeah.
say anything. They may just want you to to switch it up a little bit.
Okay, I grew.
And I didn't mean to cut your wisdom.
Yeah, I grew. But how do you have that direct communication so that person isn't offended? And like I say, I was going to answer it. You know, for me and my wife, we just sit down. We just literally just have a conversation. There ain't no sugarcoating it. None of that. Is just a talk back and forth. about, and then sometimes there are times where we're playful with it, and it's like, oh, so what you really think, and then we'll go from there. And then as you know, as a therapist, if I'm talking about this, and it's so much easier to talk about it in a session as opposed to on a podcast. It's really easy for me to talk to couples about it more than it is for me to be in front of this camera and try to talk about it. But I'm suggesting, hey, warm it up with just regular conversation, regular small talk, and then you dive into the real nitty gritty, as they say. So that's how I would do it, or that's what I would suggest as a therapist if I gave a suggestion like that. So what do y'all think? How can you have that? How can you open up that conversation about improving?
I think that not always waiting until you're in that moment. Sometimes, you know, if they do something that you don't like in that moment, you can say, hey, you know, let's do this instead, or hey, I didn't like that. If you know you and your partner are comfortable talking about it. But I think throughout the day, like say, you know, you're at work and you're like, hey, I want to try this when we get home. Or I want to try this tonight. So it's not a uncomfortable conversation. Like, okay, you know, yeah, we could try it. Yeah, I'm interested. So it's not so much.
Yeah, I really do like that during the day.
Yeah,
that's love right there.
Yeah,
it hit different when you just randomly get a question, you get something like that. Yeah,
a spontaneity.
Yeah,
I love it. Anybody else?
I just think really candid conversations with your partner. You know, either if it's during the day, you know, to try to again warm up some stuff because you boom out the blue, you sending this, okay. But always, I guess, just from a therapeutic standpoint, starting with strengths. You know what I do like, and then going into, you know, these are things that I don't like, or these are things that I would like to add to what we have, and vice versa. You know, you give me that same feedback. So I think just with any couple, that ongoing communication, I guess that's the main thing.
And I think it changes too. What I may like now, my hormones may change, and now I don't like that anymore.
Right.
So I think that's a continuous conversation. You can't just have that conversation with your partner one time, and they still enjoy it.
I think what Dee said too, paying attention to body language, it says a lot in itself. You know, it's absolutely, absolutely. So certain things don't even have to be said. You know, you can just kind of feel in a sense of what they like and what they don't like.
And I think too, you can turn a person on without it being physical. Like there's ways to stimulate and create sexual desire without even the notion of sex. Like, I don't know, just
mental stimulation.
Mental stimulation. And I think that's kind of what I'm big on, is the mental stimulation. Like when you can mentally stimulate me, we pretty much can create any atmosphere that we would like, using whatever we decide that it's enjoyable. And I think this, as we're talking about this, it kind of pulls to that, like it reiterates why just having, like, I feel like how do you have a conversation with someone? Okay, let me slow down because I feel myself going too far. So to Kervin's initial question, how do you just have sex with someone in that capacity? I feel like you can't really do it without the relationship, unless that's the intent of which you're just hooking up, right? So unless that's my intent.
I've never had that intent to just hook up.
Just, okay. Nobody's ever had that intent just to hook up, right?
Are you playing right now, or are you serious?
I'm so serious.
I saw your face when he asked it.
I'm so serious. I'm real serious.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable.
Yeah, okay. But I think when it's more, when it's more intentional, you kind of learn things. And now it's a lot of activities. Now you have like card games, you have dice, you have things that kind of
couples yoga.
You got a lot of things that promote.
Wait,
what is
couples yoga?
So
ultimately, you and your partner can join a particular yoga session where it just kind of helps promote that intimacy on different levels, without, of course, the physical sex. But doing certain postures, understanding the different breathing connections or breathing techniques, and being able to connect with your partner on those different levels.
And I'm real. This is a real question. I'm dumb about this. Are you there naked?
No, they're fully clothed.
So it's like a kind of like a group therapy type thing.
Just you and your partner.
Okay. All right.
Doing yoga moves like Twister almost.
Okay.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
doing
it is
physical
so.
yoga postures, mental, meditation components, breathing techniques, and you're doing it. You're experiencing it, of course, individually, but also with your partner.
Now I know I can Google it, but is there any way, or is there another avenue to try to find that? Like if I wanted, it sounds very interesting. It looks like something I want to do like
Probably
right now.
have to go to Atlanta, Charlotte.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
not gonna be
Greenville.
yeah.
But yeah, you can TikTok, hashtag couples yoga.
Okay.
You see.
It was on, wasn't it on Ready for Love? Somebody went to it on Ready to Love. Shout out to Ready for Love. I think they did it on Ready to Love.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. That's very interesting. Never heard of that.
But also, too, being able not to release. And what I mean by that is if we ultimately have these experiences when we do release, imagine when we aren't and being able to withhold and that, I don't know, energetic stimulation shoots up within. If that's, I don't even know if I'm describing that right, but really being able to feel it, I guess, the inner experience of withholding, releasing, I guess, sexual ejaculation. I don't know. Look, viewers, listeners, the terminology I'm unfamiliar with, but ultimately being able, I guess, to kind of repress, but not in a sense of, all right, I'm just holding on and not wanting to release, but kind of celibacy in a sense, and practicing, honing in on, scratch all of that. Next, yeah. I was
That's
trying to
dope,
get
though.
somewhere, but I don't have enough information to expand on it. It's just all up in here. But really being able to have those sexual experiences, but within self. So not physically doing it with anybody, but having that, that celibacy component.
And I think this might be a little bit off topic, just a little bit, but with doing it with yourself, like manifestation, when you're just by yourself. I mean, when you're with your partner, the energy is stronger, but being able to do that with yourself and visualize whatever you're wanting within your mind.
And what I mean by that, too, is I'm not saying people to be solo and to perform sexual pleasures on self, but none of that at all, being able to turn that same energy, I guess, that I
Into
would
something
use,
else.
into something else and sit with it and within self, I guess it is practicing celibacy and still getting that same experience and desire, fulfillment that I would get if I were engaging in sexual intimacy encounters with my partner. If that makes sense, I got to come back. We have a follow-up to present a little more information on what it is that I'm trying to articulate. But it's really practiced heavily in the Eastern traditions.
So what's the
Yeah.
key to good sex? Because or at least I was about to say people. I knew I always wanted to know that. Like, what can I do to make sure that I have that my sex is good? So what's the key? And I want to say that you kind of alluded to it earlier, D, when you was talking about the emotional connection, which then would kind of lead to the body connecting and learning each other. But is there anything else? Or is it that the biggest thing, having that emotional connection to making sex good in the relationship?
I think you need that direct communication that we were talking about earlier. I think you need that as well as knowing your partner and their body so that you guys can enjoy it.
And when you say connection, it has to be verbal?
No, not
The
all the
communication?
time. Yeah, no, not all the time. Like we said, the body tells you what it wants. I don't think it always has to be verbal. I do think that, like I said, it kind of changes. Also, what your last partner may thought was good, your new partner may not like.
And I think it's threefold too. I think it's a understanding of yourself
Yeah.
and your abilities. Getting in there and doing something you ain't really familiar with. You know what I mean? You ain't got no experience with. Don't make yourself look like a fool, maybe. So understanding yourself and even practice with yourself. Sometimes I think you alluded to that earlier, Bria. And then it's threefold: understanding that other person, and their preferences when it comes to sex. That means you're gonna have to communicate with them, right? And then understanding you guys together. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like over time, you build up this bond, with that person, and you learn a lot about them. What they like, what they don't like when it comes to sex, and you learn a lot about you guys, as a couple sexually. Your sexual experience with them is going to be different from what it is with someone else. You know what I mean? And sometimes we carry beliefs that we have from other sexual encounters into those with our partner. You might be good at that, but y'all together, you know what I mean? It might be something different. So just kind of, realizing that experience that you guys have, and communicating. I think it's threefold.
I think you said something big when you say the beliefs that you have, which actually starts when you're younger.
It does.
And then our inability, I don't know if I want to say inability, but our lack of talking with our children. I know I had the conversation about the birds and the bees with my dad. I might have been 15, 16. And that's literally what it was. The birds and the bees, not like understanding my body, not some of these questions we talked about, like, what is an orgasm, how long sex need to be, like, no, we're not talking. We just talking that, if you do this, you can have babies. We don't want no babies around here before a certain amount of time. But having those real conversations, and this hitting home for me too, because I gotta have these conversations with my kids. I don't want them to learn from like I did from Cinemax, from HBO, from the streets, from my friends, and then trying stuff that you hear other people do or say, which may not even work for you. But I guess it is trial and error to still to some degree. But we definitely got to have conversations about it in general with our kids. How do we have that? How do you?
I don't have no kids.
I don't either, but I will say, and I know we know all theories are just theories, but even those in the psychological therapeutic realm or world, understanding Freud's psychosexual stages of development too, to kind of have an understanding of why children may exhibit quote unquote self-exploring behaviors, what may be deemed as inappropriate sexual behaviors, but not really fully understanding childhood sexual development, and again, it's just a theoretical framework. It's just his theory, so some people may not be open to that, but as I get older, I think that's something important to understand, as I just observe those around me with children, and how they respond to certain things different age. But I
don't think you can teach your children everything about sex. I think there is some things, elements of sex they will have to learn. I think one of the things we do have to be intentional about is, again, teaching them the difference between sex and intimacy, and being educated on when you engage yourself in being with other people, what you may be opening yourself up to. Soul ties, and the dynamics of what that can create with people, because there's a danger in just having sex with people without anything, because the reality is we're not just talking about STDs, we're not just talking about getting pregnant. We're talking about sex for some people, like there is an emotional connection. And I think one of the things you have to be intentional with is you need to understand what the expectation of the person you're having sex with is. So if we know this just as us hooking up, or does this person think that by having sex with you, they're beginning to establish a relationship with you? Because then things start becoming fatal. I think that's where you get into fatal attractions and other things of that nature. And it's because people sometimes do think, I can just hook up with this person and it not mean nothing. No, it may not have been anything for you, but to that person, they seen that as a form of intimacy. They seen you as somebody trying to be with them, and then you deciding that that's not what you want. Now you becoming another person just took advantage of them, and it goes in a whole nother direction. So I think when we're having conversations with children, and even when we're having conversations amongst our friends and each other, you got to be mindful about, you know what I'm saying, who you play on territory with, because everybody can't handle certain things. And it's been, some people that, I've decided for myself, I can't be with you just because I know how how I am emotionally and how I'll get invested in something, and you kind of in your own way have let me know that that's not what you're looking for. Nothing wrong with you, but at the same time, we're not yoked in that capacity. I can't handle you being intimate with me and you being intimate with 4 or 5 other people, or you being sexual with 4 or 5 other people. But because we have that conversation, it is, it's the truth. I'm not the girl you're gonna take home after the club and we hook up. I ain't gonna say I've never been her, cause I have. But in growth, I'm not her anymore. So I know that don't work for me, right? We need to be able to have conversation, and I think that's the point. You say it's transparency, but to be honest, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Like, we're so busy trying to, I don't want to say this, or I don't want to do this. Do I have to have this conversation with just somebody off the street? No. But if I'm having this conversation amongst people that are genuinely interested in my well-being, who I'm genuinely interested in their well-being, and it's a topic at hand, we need to be honest about things, because truthfully, that's how we learn and we grow. Like, that's how we know certain things. And I don't know, you guys, I'm taking this training right now on family planning, and I know this is kind of off topic, but it's not in the same instance. But with one of the things that stood out to me was, like, they started talking about, STDs and STIs, and how when we're educating people, we should talk about the commonality of it. But I'm like, why should we be exploring commonality in infections and disease, right? But we're having to, because people are just engaging in sex without education. And so I think about, you have to be educated in what you're doing, how you're exchanging yourself, the person that you're engaging with, because this can be a lifetime investment. And I think when people start looking at sex, it's not just about the moment, because it's gonna go deeper. And I think that's kind of what Josh was saying too, because in honesty, if I don't been connected with all these people and I don't had all these fantasy sex, and then I get with somebody who may have been a virgin, they're not gonna produce what I'm used to. So now I can't be satisfied with them, right? I'm expecting them to go outside of their element and fulfill something that I've created years ago, right? And now they're feeling inadequate because they can't satisfy me, but really, it's just because I done been everywhere. Or now they looking for to be fulfilled, but I done been everywhere, so sex ain't even a priority to me no more, right?
Ooh.
And a lot of times when I
misleading.
talk I've had couples and I've had people in relationships, and you on 2 different spectrums because you've had 2 different experiences, right? And we got to have conversations about that. Like, you got to have conversations with your partner is what are we looking for? What are we building? And I think when we talk about sex without relationship, you have to have the relationship first. Again, you can have sex with anybody,
Most
but
definitely.
good sex to me is intimacy. And intimacy you cannot have with everyone. And so and intimacy requires intent, and you have to be intentional about what you're doing.
I gotta ask y'all a question. I think it's very relatable, because we talk about mental health and we talk about sex. What happens when I want to have sex, but I have no one to have sex with, no one available to have sex with? I want to have sex with somebody. I want to be intimate with somebody, right? But I have no one available, because I think people sometimes make decisions because of what they want, because of those emotions that they're feeling, and so they're more vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? So what advice can we give people? Can we tell people, when they're feeling like that? I feel it. I want to have sex. I got that urge. I want to have sex with somebody. Not with my so seductive at the time.
I feel like I think it's a mind thing. I feel like holding it in, you feel stronger. You feel more empowered than actually releasing it. Yeah, you have that thought and you want it, but holding it in, like, I feel like you can accomplish more. Your energy is better than just giving it to a random.
I'm speaking as a parent first and then a therapist, but I would say wait. Wait, let that urge go on through, because it's literally an urge, right?
So what happens when you wait? Like what?
Well, when you wait until you meet that person, the person that you can connect with, because what Dee just got finished saying, it's going to follow you. All of these experiences are following you, and it's developing what's going on to that moment in time that you're at. So if you're 23, you're 24, 25, if you didn't want to wait and you started having these experiences with these people, well, when you hit 26 and 27, now your you have a different perspective because you've been with all of these people. But if you wait, you also gonna have a different perspective. And I really like what she's saying about being at different levels. So now if you say, all right, well, you know what, bumping, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna learn my body, and the way I'm gonna learn my body is to be intimate with multiple people. You can even have, you can get to the point where you got these people on board. But now when you hit a certain age, you're like, all right, I done been there, done that, and I don't want to do it no more.
Yeah.
But
Wear yourself out.
You basically wore yourself out, and then you got a person that you want to be with the rest of your
And they
life,
excited.
and you ain't got nothing to get him.
Yeah.
So you
gotta be careful out there, man.
we have to think about it.
Mindful.
But especially, I really love everything you said. You gave so much information. I want you to just kind of like break it down into pieces, but we're going to rewind that or something and just go back to it, everything you said. But could we, or did you want to?
I wanted to add something. So I will say also, going back to how you were saying about you had the conversation with your dad about the birds and the bees. My conversation with my mom wasn't a traditional conversation. I had porn on my laptop or phone or whatever it was at the time, and my mom pretty much was like, okay, we're going to get you a vibrator. Like, you need to learn your body. You're at that age where you have those hormones and the urge, and instead of me having sex with someone else or having sex at that time, she thought it was important that I learn myself.
And that helped you?
I do think so, yeah.
Okay.
And it's non-traditional. Like, I will say I'm glad I did it that way instead of the birds and the bees conversation, because I wouldn't have had the knowledge I feel like that I have now.
That's what's up. I wanted to kind of talk about the soul ties. Y'all mentioned it, just for anybody that didn't really know what it was. And I looked it up. I'm gonna read what I looked up.
That's big.
I've always kind of looked at it a little bit different than what I read, but what I looked up, and y'all can elaborate on it if y'all want to. But what I looked up was a spiritual soul ties is a spiritual or emotional connection you have to someone after being intimate with them, to the point that when you want to be rid of them from your mind or your life, even when you're far away from them and out of their presence, you still feel as if they are a part of you, or a part of you is with them. And the reason I say I felt it was a little different, I don't really feel like I felt like that with anybody, but I've always felt like people kind of stick with you that you've been with. That's the only difference. Not that I wanted to put them out of my mind and I couldn't. But I always felt like all the people that I have been connected with are still with me to the day. That's just my thought process on it. Not that it's right or wrong. Did y'all want to add anything to that? Elaborate to that?
I mean, I just want to, I'm going to let y'all speak on it, but I want to say young men definitely be cognizant of that, because it's harder, I think, for young men to abstain or to keep from, when they feeling those pressures, to keep from finding, somebody to actually to do that with, and it be an experience that's not important to them, but still, you can have those soul ties. I'm almost scared of choosing the wrong person, because I'm like, man, sex is so intimate. It's a spiritual experience almost. And you never know what that other person is on, man. Yeah. Like, you never know spiritually what that other person is. It can get really deep,
I think that leads back. I'm sorry, Josh.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think that leads back to what Dee was saying, too, understanding the difference between just sexual fantasies and pleasure seeking versus being intimate. Because if we are intimate mentally, we've already had those conversations. I kind of already know where you are spiritually. I kind of already know what your outlook or what your intentions are with you and I. So I feel those foundational questions should have already been explored, should have gotten some answers before we even get to the physical sexual encounters, because intimately you already stimulated me. We already kind of had that groundbreaking conversation. I don't need to elaborate on soul ties. I think the definition that you read, Kervin, it sums it up. But I think it just, again, hones in on knowing self, really having a relationship with self on all levels. Without, again, engaging in these sexual acts, but really spending time with self when I do get those urges. How do I not suppress, but how do I direct those emotions and things elsewhere, and then that leads to having discipline and willpower, you know, and making conscious choices about who I choose to engage in sexual desires with from a mental and physical standpoint. So yeah.
All right. So I think we covered a lot, and we could continue to go on with this topic. And I really like how kind of we ended about knowing yourself and really communicating before we even get to toys and experimenting with this person, experimenting with that person. You gotta know yourself, one, and then number two, be able to convey what you know about yourself to the potential partner that you're gonna have. So as we end, I'm gonna give you, Bria, a chance to just say anything you want to say or share about your business, any projects that you got coming up that you want to let us know about. Yeah, just go with that.
So I really don't have much. I do have a website that you guys could check out my products on. It's soseductivelingerie.com. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
All right. We want to shout out Mr. Winston for holding down the audio and visual production.
Always.
Check him out on winstonjstewart.com.
Big W.
Subscribe to Speaking with Gravity on Facebook and Instagram. We'll make it easy for you and put it in the show notes. For all your event needs, check out 6-1 Event Rentals. Yes, they got a 360 booth with the red carpet.
That's cool.
Their link will be in the show notes as well. And I stole this phrase. Life can be picture perfect when you have the tools to focus your lens. And that comes from yours truly, Miss D. Carpenter. Contact her at Kodak Red Consultant Services. You can check that out, her website out. She does coaching, grief. It's called grief something.
Goal setting.
Goal setting, grief and goal setting. Let's talk about it, a platform of questions to make you think about life, health, family, culture, and so much more. Follow Young Garvey, a.k.a. Joshua Williams, on all platforms. And really check him out on YouTube. We'll try to make sure we have those last two things that I mentioned in the show notes as well. And to improve your mental health with therapy, sit with a therapist. The conversation is different. Visit my website, Gravity Counseling Group. We have wellness group, individual, family, and couples therapies. And hopefully we're going to partner with D and Todd to present some workshops coming up pretty soon, maybe 2023. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen. You could be doing anything right now, but you chose to listen to us, and we appreciate that. I'm a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast.